Odrog Culture presents Odrogs in Hot Pods. I'm Odie.
And I'm Rogue.
And together, this is Odrogs in Hot Pods. Here we are, the ultimate episode. You cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. I'm here with Rogue.
I can't believe it.
Oh, isn't it amazing that we're just surrounded by such amazing,
such talented,
beautiful, brilliant, talented Star Wars fans. We've launched into this podcast with little to expect of what we were to unfurl. But here's the day that we really cover off everything and kind of presented with a special Odrogs in Hot Pods take, I would say. And Rogue, you've got to be a little bit excited because we're not doing Honor the Gore. Instead, we're going to do a new episode next week talking about season 2. But why else are you excited?
I'm excited because we've got some very special guests on with us today who are writers, actors, filmmakers, and just like you said, Odie, all-round talented people.
Lachlan, McClain, Tanner McNatt from The Secrets of the Temple and Voyage of the Crusader, alongside the actor, writer, and director here with us from the fan-made film Sakura. Please welcome Rei Kennex.
I'm originally from Kiev, Ukraine, and I've lived in the States for the last almost 10 years now. I moved here to start my creative career because before that I had a very different line of work. I used to be in international relations, so very academic, very heady, very serious, but I was always involved in something creative and music and advertisement later on. So I finally made the decision to move here after I won a big competition back in Ukraine that was actually filmed in LA. So that gave me some confidence that this could actually be a career. And I moved here by myself and started to work my way towards what I wanted to do. So I'm still here, still working, and dreams change, plans change. But now I'm mostly involved in filmmaking because I realized that I'm a storyteller and music was not enough for me. So I went to school for filmmaking, for acting, and now it's my favorite passion when it comes to creativity. I also do cosplay. Cosplay is just my fun, creative outlet. The stress-free acting, like I call it. So I do a lot of that. And my other big passion is this. It's animal rescue and animal rights and anything that helps animals. So I do a lot of volunteering and fundraising. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see I do stuff all the time, like auctions and all kinds of fundraisers, like I said, and helping animals.
I'm Lachlan McClain. I'm the writer, director, and producer for the 2 fan films, Dawn of the Clone Wars and Voyage of the Crusader. We've actually done a total of 5 of them, 5 different fan films, and we have 3 more shorts that are going to be shooting this fall. So like little spin-off stories. So we're excited to hop onto that. I've been filming since I was 7 years old.
I'm Tanner McNatt. I play Alec in the films. I've been involved in acting pretty much my whole life as well. I started performing around middle school and then just fell in love with it since then and have been in musicals and film productions ever since. Right now I do software engineering, so I code for a company.
Yeah, great. Rei Kennex, you're an actress, you're a writer, you're a director. But Rogue, you've got a bit of a question.
It's so good to have you on the show today. Can you tell us more about your film?
Sakura is a 5-minute short film. It's a Star Wars fan film. So I came up with that idea a few years ago to shed more light on a character that is known, but not as in depth. So I just love characters that are very interesting. There's a lot of lore to them, but it's mostly not known to a regular fan base. So Ayla Sakura was one of them, and I already had the costume. I was working on the costume, and I thought, hey, well, if I'm already doing this, why don't we shoot a little story about her that will help people know more about her? And I started bouncing ideas around, and I came up with this concept of what if, like the idea of force vision. So I decided to use that force vision concept in this short film and use Order 66 for it because it's the moment that everyone knows about Ayla Sakura. And so I thought, okay, how can we make the Order 66 the central theme of it, but build more information, more story to her around it. And so that was the story that she foresees her future, what happens to her during Order 66 on Felucia, and decides to change it. And we've planted so many Easter eggs in that 5-minute little short film. I dug into comic books, into some lore, and there's some quotes in there from the comics as well, and some information about Twi'leks that not everyone knows. Like, they carry their memories and their leku of the generations before them. So if you watch the 5 minutes, you're like, whoa, what is all this? So I wanted to make this film because I really love Ayla. I think she's fascinating and so different. She is a Jedi like no one else. She's one of her kind. And I wanted people to know more about her and love her more like I do. And so that was the idea.
I can clearly hear your love for Star Wars. And after seeing your fan-made film, Sakura, I mean, it really speaks for itself. So I'm really interested to hear how your passion for Star Wars began.
Interesting. I watched the prequels first. So I'm a prequel baby. And I always liked it since I watched it, but I never was like a huge nerd about it until I came to Los Angeles and I watched The Force Awakens. And I don't know, I just was like childhood returning, and I felt the magic and then the surge of inspiration. And that, I think, skyrocketed my renewed passion for Star Wars. It was that film and the music and new characters, new places. So, and I really, that same year, I really got into the community because I started cosplaying. Rei was my first cosplay, and through that I met a lot of people in the community, and they were so great and so welcoming, and I made so many friends, and that was an extra boost, so it didn't go away. It was just supported more and more and more as the years went by. So that was the big launch.
Yeah, well, it would have been amazing. But why Ayla specifically? Like, why did you choose her?
Ayla, well, she is complex and she is not what you think she is, which I really like about her. She's she's always been portrayed as this attractive Twi'lek and very strong warrior. But if you think about it, she's walking this fine line of almost not being a Jedi because she does a lot of things that borderline Jedi rules. She has this thing going on with Kit Fisto, which is against Jedi rules, but very much in line with the Twi'lek rules. And that's why, one more thing, I wanted to show her relationship with Bly in the film, because a lot of people ship them. I don't ship them. I think they were really close professional relationship, caring about each other, and there was a bond, but there was nothing romantic between them because Ayla had her, feelings for Kit. And so she did that. And then even if you look at her, like, she doesn't wear a robe. She's just walking around like a Twi'lek. She accepts part of her, which, if you read the comics, which you did, she was taught by Quinlan Vos to embrace her Twi'lekness and make it her strength as a Jedi. So all of those emotions that she has, the memories that she carries, the sensitivity that she has, he told her to embrace this because that will make her a better Jedi, and versus trying to restrain herself or restrict herself. And that was such a fresh and rebellious take on the whole Jedi thing. So I love that about her. She's also no nonsense. She's a very good leader, but she's also very feminine. So she's not like a guy who does the same thing. She's very feminine in her commanding ways and how she behaves. So I just was fascinated by that uniqueness of her.
And she is so unique. And I guess another character who's really unique is Alec. Tanner plays Alec in Voyage of the Crusader. Tanner, is there a location you particularly like?
It's got to be Outpost X. Like, it was such a unreal location. They built Star Wars little houses for this Airbnb is basically what it is. And so it added just so much value, I think, to the project, where it's not we're just like outside in a space. We've got this building. There's a shot with me and Summer. We're sitting outside the house, and it's just it's a Star Wars house. So from the outside perspective, it looks like we just built the Star Wars house. But we were able to find this location. So a lot of the really cool sets, we used those spaces, and then some of the others we built ourselves. And so just the combination of all of that really enhanced the film, I think. But Outpost X was really cool.
Well, also I did some prop work myself back in the day in backstage and theatre, and did some prop work. But the next question kind of stems from that. There's so much that really goes into costume and prop work. But what's a prop or costume that you guys wanted to keep, or what happened to those props and costumes post-production?
Well, I have all of my own costumes, obviously, my own props that I get, those are mine. But the other costumes, the guys that played clone troopers. It's their own costume. So they went back with them, and there was nothing that went anywhere else, I think. But I think if you speak about my favorite, I really like Ayla's apron. I know it's unusual choice maybe, but it's handmade and it's crafted in every little detail, all of the little scales that she has. If you look at it close, you'll see all the work on it, and I love it. And also her lacquer, because I airbrushed the spots and you don't see them when you're far away, but when you're close, I did the gradient on them so they look like they're really there. It's not painted,
Unreal.
But real skin. So yeah, that was a lot. So, but Ayla, it's not a big film, so there was not a lot in it. But everyone notices the clone's armor, how good the weathering was, and how good it looked. So I just like them. The clones are cool.
Probably the costumes mostly is what I like a lot. I mean, Jango Fett, the one in Dawn of the Clone Wars was my own costume that I put money in, and so that one's like my baby. Like that one I really, really like and like wearing it, and even have like the helmet on display in the room. So I'd probably say it's actually Jango Fett. Yeah.
The pot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, there's this one pot I found at a thrift store, and I was so set on getting a static shot of it, because I really liked it. It was a fun find, and now it's just kind of become like an inside joke. It's like, don't forget Lachlan's pot, and now I just kind of like try to throw it in each film if I can. I mean, it debuted. I would say its debut was Secrets of the Temple. Then we brought it back in Voyage. But
so funny. It has no point to like the plot at all, but it's just there's like a shot that it like focuses on the pot, and we're just like,
That's a joke. But the one
I loved just my lightsabers, because it made me feel like I was a real Jedi. Just anytime my characters just got either the lightsaber just on his hilt or like fighting scenes, that was the thing that really turned me from just a guy to a Jedi, was this lightsaber that didn't look like anything while we were filming because it was just a hilt, but in post-production it had all the effects and everything, and so it looked really cool. But yeah. All right, and in Voyage of the Crusader, I have like 6 different lightsabers that I use because of all the flashback scenes and everything. So it was a lot of fun to have a bunch of different lightsabers.
Absolutely, it looked fun. But it kind of leads into the next question, which was, lightsaber colors are always best suited to the personality of a character, and Alec goes on such progressions, and the lightsabers match that. In your own understanding, what color best suits Alec?
Credits don't work out here. Only money. No money, no deal.
Imperial credits no use in the Outer Rim? That doesn't matter. JWSabers has a saber for you. A huge range of sabers to practice your bombad varpad, or just simply to gaze at like a smuggler to a princess. A night sister to another mister. A gambler to a droid freedom fighter.
Odie, I think they get it. What they also get is 10% off if they use our code. Odrog Culture. Like your boy MF Doom once said, all caps, no space, but all the time.
There is a bounty of JWSabers. Find him in 2026 at Canberra and Sydney's Big East convention at Oz Comic Con. You see him, mention us, ODIE and Rogue, from Odrog.
In a hot pods.
Well, when he was a Sith, it was red. But I think in the present timeline where he's at now, I would say blue. He kind of adopts Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber, and I feel like that sort of plays into his personality, his role. And I think that's a fitting color for Alec, is a blue lightsaber, just a classic standard.
Yeah. Being a creative person can see you being stuck in your mind over particular processes, which I experienced creating the podcast. What were some defining moments for you during the filmmaking that made you think, you know what, this is it. This is exactly where I want to be, and I'm going to see this filming through?
I think for this project, since it was a one-day shoot, and one of the first moments is when everyone came together and we met at the location, and the guys were there who played the clones, and I knew I had the voice actors there, and the little crew, we had, I think, 4 or 5 people helping on set. And that was so rewarding and so inspiring, knowing that my vision brought these people, very, very talented people, together, and they believe in it, and they want to help make it happen. I think this was one of the things. And then equally in the end of the day when you already done the work and you are pleased with the result and everyone did such a good job, and it's like the feeling of just happy peace that you've done what you wanted to do, and you're kind of making your own dream come true in a way, because you had this idea, now it's done, and everyone is also so elated, that feeling after it's done, and everyone's like, "Yay, we did it!"
Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
that's probably and obviously the whole process, it's challenging, but there are very cool moments when you just lose yourself in the story and you're no longer thinking, "Oh, me, I'm acting, Greg, whatever." You're just the character and you live the story as that character, and that's also the coolest feeling ever.
Yeah, and part of living that story sometimes can have a toll, I guess, as an actor. But my question to you is, Tanner, you filmed some really intense scenes over Voyage of the Crusader. Did that have an effect on your personal life, or are you able to separate that quite well because of your acting skills?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me personally, I've been acting for such a long time. I've gotten to a point where I would say I'm good at separating sort of real life and performance.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of scenes in the movie where it is very full of emotion, and sometimes after cut, I do need to sort of like wind down, I guess is the word, or something like that. But it not only like a few seconds. Like we call cut, and I'm like, all right, let me like recenter myself because I was just crying or screaming a second ago. That emotion was like there and real for a second, but after maybe 30 seconds, I'm like, okay, we can joke around again. So in my mind, I've got this way I'm able to separate very distinctly between the two. And so my performance and the character that I embody doesn't sneak into my real life at all.
Yeah, wow. It's such an important skill. And Ray, how about for you?
Well, doing lightsaber choreography in heels on the stony terrain was the hardest thing probably with her. Because one thing when you're sneakers in the gym, and another thing when you're in the whole costume with the headpiece and everything. And as just the portrayal, the inner portrayal, I think I always pick the characters that I relate to more or less. So for her, it's just this confident rebelliousness, I guess, and how she's finding the stillness within herself so she can hear clearly the force and herself and everything. I relate to that too, because of being an ADHD person, my mind is a constant chaos, and the stillness, like just find the clearness, it was so helpful in a way. So I learned that thing from her. And what was hard, I think, to balance that strength and that elegance in a one. Because with Ahsoka, it's the same thing. When I play Ahsoka, it's also strength and elegance, but for some reason, Ahsoka is just effortless. But Ayla, she has this swagger at the same way as she's not hiding. Like this is who I am. This is what I am. This crop top and everything it's so much confidence, but also strength. So finding, I guess for her, it was more physicality was more challenging than the inner world. The physicality, I'm like, okay, I need to do this and look like I've been doing this my whole life and make it look convincing. So that was the biggest challenge. And for every character, it's its own challenge, because I find parts that we are like and those parts are easy, and then there are parts always they're different, and for those I have to use my imagination and obviously do the homework.
Being able to incorporate stunts into these movies is also a lot of fun, because I feel like I get to bring another part of myself to the characters that I play. I think that adds a lot of depth. I've gotten to learn combat stunts, starting with Temple, really, Secrets of the Temple. And so that was a really cool thing that I got to sort of add to my list of abilities.
I think on the stunt side, we had a guy that I brought on to do just stormtrooper stunts, and he was he did a lot more stunts, like I think it's like one of his gigs. And he only, I think, walked away with like a bruise on his knee or something, but it was from the armor pinching his knee. And so it wasn't really like from all his stunts, from what I understand. And he did some crazy stunts where he was actually falling off from ledges where Tanner splashes at him and he falls back. That was the real guy that fell back. It's during one of the vision sequences where he has the purple lightsaber and he goes, slices the guy in half and he falls down. He does all sorts of fun stuff, but we had to, like Tanner said, I made sure to make sure everyone was okay doing their own stunt if they wanted to. If not, then we just didn't do it, because safety was always important. as well. There were actually some stunts that we filmed where it didn't look good, and I didn't even use it because the actor or actress was hesitant for it and said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. But they weren't a stunt person, and so it didn't look good.
Yeah. Is there anything that you found really difficult to embody for the character or the process of the filming, or does things seem
I
quite
think
natural?
it's a little bit of a mix of both. He's a very complex character. He becomes a more complex character. I think in Secrets of the Temple, it was sort of mostly one emotion, and then near the end, he starts to break down. And then in Crusader, it's a lot of emotion, and so that was a little more difficult, I would say. It was a lot of fun. I really loved finding that emotion in Alec, but it took some work. The process, the sort of journey that he goes through, I had to, I don't want to say study, but like kind of, I would read over the lines just on my own before we would film and just really dive into, okay, what is he like? If I was in this situation right now, how would I be feeling? What would I be going through? In my personal life, I'm never gonna be at a moment where I'm like, I killed my best friend's lover. Like, how do I deal with that? But Alec has to deal with that. And so I have to put myself in that situation. Like, how would the emotion come out? How raw would it be? How much would I be like holding back? And so I had to sort of consider all those different things. And so when it came time to actually film it, all of that preparation came through, in addition to when you're actually on set with all of the characters, with all the actors, with all the wardrobe, it adds a level of reality. And so it's sort of the tipping point to really bring the performance for me to where I think it needs to be.
Do you both have some advice for those fans among us who'd like to make Star Wars fan-made film?
I think number one, it's find your crowd and find people who you work good with, who believe in your ideas. Because whether you're a seasoned filmmaker, you're a professional, or if you're just starting and you don't know what you're doing very much, but still want to do your film, it's important that people that you work with good and supportive. And this way, either they teach you or you just teach each other in the process. And because you by yourself, of course, can make a film, but it will be so much better if you have a team. And at first, you might not have many people believe in you if you haven't done anything yet, because you don't have anything to show them. But just start somewhere and have at least a couple of friends or someone who knows what they're doing to help you, and then you can show the result to more people and more will come aboard. So it works like this. So you earn a reputation project by project by project, and once it becomes really good, people will actually come to you and see if you're doing anything, because like, hey, I can do this, do you need anyone like me? And so I guess that's the fun of it. You meet new people, you collaborate together and make each other better. So yeah, find your crowd. And then the second thing, I think, be truthful to the Star Wars world, universe, but also don't be afraid to make tweaks if you feel like that's what your creative desire is. So, you know what I mean? So take risks.
Absolutely.
But yes, take risks, but still keep it Star Wars, because people are very sensitive to those things. When something doesn't feel like Star Wars, we pick it up. So if you're a fan, then it shouldn't be a problem to do that. So I think that's a fun thing to do when you're making your own project. You can, it's yours. You can your own vision and your own experience into it, and nobody can judge you for it.
Don't let budget restrain you from your vision.
We had none.
It was very, very tight budget on this one. I always believe there's a way. Keep the passion alive, entertain that, and feed that passion. For me, it's music, like soundtrack. I will always listen to the music to entertain that and to keep it building. The first fan film we did was just for fun. Make sure you're having fun through the journey, no matter what. Money is a tool, but it's also like, if not used correctly or not entertained correctly, it can stump growth. I think if you're just like really like focused on that, I feel like it can ruin it can ruin relationships, ruin moments, but the passion and the fun is what keeps it together.
What's sound advice as well? Look, this question's for Tanner. Tanner, what's in the future for Alec, and what's next for you, I guess?
Well, we left off with him just walking to the temple, not knowing exactly what he's going to do in there. But Lachlan's already written the scripts, but I actually don't know what the story is because he hasn't told me yet. But I envision, I'm a hopeless sort of positive outcome viewer. So I just envision him getting his family back and living with, like, raising his kids and just being a good dad to them and showing them the world and helping them become great people themselves. That's what I envision for Alec.
And Lachlan, what about you? What are some thoughts about what's coming next? No spoilers.
Very exciting, complex story. Like, and I want it to be a surprise for everyone that sees it. Like, so I don't want to share too much, but I will say, like, a lot of I will answer this. A lot of people ask, like, is he going to choose any of the moments that he looked at in Voyage? And the answer is no. He doesn't choose any of those moments. And so it's something that we haven't seen yet. So I'll just say that it's something bigger than what I've ever done before.
Yeah, such an interesting thing on the horizon, and for Backyard Tripod Films. But Rei Kennex, what about you? Anything else on the horizon? Any little tidbits you can share for us today?
There is something else. There's no Ayla right now because I don't know, the body paint. It was brutal. But yes, I am working on something very special right now. I've been working on this project for the last year and a half. It's a new fan film. And I'm not saying what it is right now because it's going to be a little surprise. I'm going to reveal it when we're a little bit later in post-production, but it has been shot already and edited. Now we are in post-production stage. So the music, the voiceover, the sound effects, and I'm hoping to finish it in a few months. And so once it's close to being done, I will do an announcement of what it is, but it's long. It's like 20 minutes, 21 minutes so far. It's longer, and it's the most epic thing I've done ever, I think, because the scope of this production was massive. So I'm very excited about that one. That one's super special, and it's my favorite character, one of the very, very favorite characters, and I get to play a lot in this film. So, like, play a lot meaning not playing the character, but play for having fun, have a lot of fun during this project. So we had so many people taking part of it, so you'll see many familiar faces. Follow me on Instagram, so do keep an eye on it, because I can't wait to show you.
We can find you on Instagram at Rei Kennex, ReiKennex, but we can also find you on YouTube.
Yes, you can find me on YouTube. That's where all of my fan films go, and some other things too. So it's also Rei.Kennex on YouTube. My channel is the same. Give me a follow or say hi or ask me anything. No, I'm always happy to meet new people and to say hi to everyone.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And just before you go, there's also something that you're driving forward at the moment, which is to donate money towards rescue animals over in Ukraine. Tell us more about that.
There's a lot of need right now for animal rescues and shelters because there's a lot of frontline cities and villages that are being abandoned. So a lot of animals were left behind, and volunteers go and evacuate them. And all of these animals go to rescues and volunteers and shelters. So everything's overcrowded. They're out of money. They're out of resources. There's a lot of animals that are obviously hurt, farm animals as well, not just pets. So they're really, really overwhelmed. And there's a lot of smaller groups, volunteers that don't have online presence as much or not at all, but they still need help. So I focus mostly on those smaller ones because, they don't have that much exposure, but I know all of them. And so I'm doing all kinds of fun auctions and fundraisers on my Instagram so people can win like an autographed item, a collectible, or, just donate whatever they can. It was my birthday a couple of days ago, so I also did like a PayPal me thing. Like, even if you have $1 you want to donate, just send it over and I'll send everything. So that went really well. So yes, if anyone is interested in helping, I'd be super grateful.
It was so amazing to have all of you on the podcast today. Of course, you can check out and support them all. You can donate to a volunteer organization that helps a lot of smaller rescues and volunteers at dogs_cats_need help. And PayPal will connect that to the bottom. We also love supporting fan films, and probably so do you. If you love Star Wars, really start to think about supporting those people that are out there that are making Star Wars just the best community to be a part of. Because Rogue, correct me if I'm wrong, but this has been the best part of this journey, is literally sharing time with Star Wars fans.
Oh, without a doubt. And we've often reflected on it and post-recording our pods. The fans are what make Star Wars what it is. And without them, there wouldn't be any Star Wars and we wouldn't be here today either.
It's not really a fan base. It's more like family.
Without a doubt.
You can support Rei Kennex as well, and I'm going to link her PayPal below, just with everything she's got cooking.
I am excited.
Then you can also support Backyard Tripod Films. There's a Venmo and GoFundMe, so if people wish to support them that way, any $500 plus donations to the projects automatically gives donors an executive producer credit in the Associates project. So isn't that just fantastic that as a Star Wars fan, you can be a part of something that's just so big? If you haven't started on their films, go and check them out. That's Backyard Tripod Films. Lockie is a superstar. He's got a great mind. He's a great writer, and he's really inclusive for all the actors. There's some brilliant stuff on their YouTube as well. You can go and check out all their backstage videos. Some huge talent of what they've got going on there. Check out their films. You've got to do that.
And I think we've given the fans a little treat today and the listeners a little treat. And I hope people tune in and follow these guys and support fan-made films. It's an exciting space that not many people tend to explore to its full availability. So get on into it and have a listen today, and hope you enjoy this Hyperspace Hot Takes for this episode 5.
And you can go and find the full interviews on our YouTube channel. But these fan films are so good, I'm saying they're better than Disney content. That's what I'm saying.
You're on, Odie.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Ichuda of Odrogs and Hot Pots. I'm Evelyn, but I am known by Evie Blue on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm here with another educator today.
Hi, my name's Peter Marigold. I run a website called fanfilmempire.com, which is dedicated to incredible fan-made films for Star Wars mainly, but also Marvel, DC, and Star Trek, and possibly expanding to other franchises. And it's somewhere you can go to find the most amazing fan films you can imagine. As
said, we are guest adjudicators today as ODIE and Rogue battle it out. They are both debating that fan films, both AI and not, are greater than Disney films. So for the positive of the debate, hailing from the state of Victoria, Australia, a teacher, father, artist, and writer, I introduce Odie.
I'm a self-published author as well, and I wrote a children's book called Beyond the Storm with my friend Jade, who's an artist over in Kent in England. I'm a father of 3 girls, recently had a baby, and I also love Star Wars so much that I've got a few OCs in the background that I'm working on and drawing.
Also hailing from Victoria, Australia, we have Rogue, an animal activist, an ex-zoo director and animal conservationist. Rogue's a passionate advocate, father, and lover of the combination of breakfast and lunch, known as brunch, at local cafes. Rogue, can you tell us 3 things about yourself, please?
I'm an avid Star Wars fan. My favourite character is Kip Durran from the Expanded Universe. I have a son who's my absolute pride and joy. I'm an avid conservationist. My favourite animal is the koala, and I'm unbeknownst to many people, I'm actually a koala reproductive specialist. It's a bit of a mouthful. So if you need reproductive advice about koalas, I'm your man. Come and have a chat. And that's me.
Well, without further ado, let's get into the debate. Odie, you're up first for the positive, debating Star Wars fan films are greater than Disney content. Take it away.
We are here because we ourselves are fans, right? Odie and Rogue, shock horror, are not our real names. Like Tag and Bink, we are just podcasting as a fan fiction because we are the fans, and we are doing this for the fans. For the fans, by the fans. Yes, you'll probably say Paul Sun-Hyung Lee, who plays Carson Teva, is a huge fan. Dave Filoni is a huge fan. Jon Favreau, a huge fan. But fan films go beyond what they give us. They give us stories from stories beyond Disney. The corporate management can ruin decisions that were original concepts that would have lifted Star Wars beyond of where it is now. There's no doubt that Rei Kennex and Lachlan McClain, Rei Kennex, who did the Sakura fan film, of course, and Lachlan McClain, who directed the Voyage of the Crusade and Secrets of the Temple and has done, well, 5 all of fan films, give everything to what they do. And so much so that they depend on everyone. And that's what Star Wars is all about. It's about helping each other. It's about supporting each other. Yes, the bigwigs, they put a lot into it as well. But Lachlan and Rei are the opposite, as they do not get the backing they deserve to create the clear vision they have to give people stories that could change lives. So fan films are something that can expand Star Wars to a whole new level. And they have expanded things to a whole new level. You jump on the catalogue that Peter has put together, and there is some amazing work.
Wow, Odie, what a powerful way to kick off this debate. And I like the fact that you called out there the fan-made film Sakura, brilliantly made, genuinely exciting, because fans really cared about that character. But today, we're not here to talk about the art behind fan films. We're actually here to talk about whether fan films are better than Disney. And I just want to draw your attention to one thing. While Sakura is beautifully shot and genuinely captures the spiritual atmosphere of Star Wars, like many fan films and subsequent AI films, and I understand why you value it, but the film essentially is working inside an established mythology rather than expanding it. So for my rebuttal, I would say that Disney has had to decide how the Force evolves through projects like Ahsoka, Tales of the Jedi, and the High Republic era. Those productions carry the responsibility of adding to canon rather than simply celebrating it or expanding it. So whilst I admire this film enormously, but celebrating Star Wars and steering Star Wars are certainly two different challenges. So when we debate whether AI and fan-made films are better than Disney Star Wars, I think we need to start by asking the right question. So the motion isn't asking whether fan films are impressive, because they absolutely are. It's asking whether they are better than Disney Star Wars overall. So the first thing that separates the two, I can see, is responsibility. So a fan-made film has complete creative freedom. They can choose Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Aayla Secura, or the Clone Wars, because there are already beloved parts of the galaxy. Disney, on the other hand, doesn't have that luxury. Since acquiring Lucasfilm, it's had to steward an entire living franchise. Every film, television series, novel, comic, and game has to fit within a coherent canon overseen by the Lucasfilm. Take The Mandalorian. It would have been much safer to make another Luke Skywalker story. Instead, Disney introduced Din Djarin, an almost faceless bounty hunter, and Grogu, a completely original character who became one of the most recognizable figures in modern pop culture. That emotional connection wasn't borrowed, it was earned. Then we look at Andor. Disney transformed Cassian Andor from an interesting supporting character in Rogue One into one of the deepest protagonists Star Wars had ever had. Through characters like Luthen, Mon Mothma, Kino Loy, Star Wars explored sacrifice, fascism, and rebellion without relying on lightsaber duels every episode. That wasn't nostalgia, that was expansion. Now we compare that, say, with fan film SC-38 or Vader, whom I really enjoy and have a lot of fun watching. It brings out that inner child in me viewing those films. They're beautifully produced and I genuinely admire them. But they begin with decades of emotional investment already established by George Lucas and Lucasfilm. We already know Vader's tragedy. We already know Obi-Wan's sacrifice. The filmmakers are standing on incredibly strong foundations. So I'm not criticizing them for that. I'm simply saying the creative challenge is fundamentally different. Celebrating something extraordinary is not the same challenge as creating the next extraordinary thing. So whilst fan films tend to celebrate the galaxy, Disney has to keep the galaxy alive.
Rogue, you talk about keeping Star Wars alive and it falls on Disney. The only reason it falls on Disney is because Disney used their corporate money to buy it in the first place. Star Wars wasn't dead. Star Wars was well and truly alive, and we had that through the EU. You talk about creating new films and new ways and new places and all that kind of stuff around what Disney has the choice to try and do. That's because they bought it. Disney Star Wars saturation was a real thing years before. We went years without Star Wars only to be promised oversaturation and poor story beats. Disney, besides Andor, you mentioned Andor, of course, Rogue One. Yeah, good use of my favorite film. But Disney had a repertoire of Star Wars content. Hello, New Jedi Order. You know, the EU is still existent. You've got the Black Series toys coming out. You've still got Jaina Solo, Jason Solo. No, you don't want to use those? Fine. What about Mara Jade? And these are fan films that can come out and explore these characters that we know and love as Star Wars fans right from the early days in the original trilogy. Hello, Heir to the Empire, Timothy Zahn. Did they use any of this? No, they just attempted to create something and ignore George's plans. I'm still waiting on the devastation of the Bothans that Mon Mothma suggests in episode 6. Hell, since Disney took over, I'm still waiting to find out what a Bothan even is. The fans knew, and they had it.
Wow, that was a good round, because I was like, yeah, Rogue, everything you're saying, I'm right behind you. But then Odie started saying, like, you know, the EU existing and the fact that we have plot holes that Disney just left wide open. I'm like, oh, you're right. Like, those are good points. I'm kind of torn, honestly, right now between the two of you.
Really interesting. Every time I post a fan film, there's the same comments where people say, oh, this is better than anything that Disney did. And it gets so boring. And I think there's so much, there's room for more. And I think what you're talking about here is really, really interesting. It's complicated to keep going and expanding the franchise instead of just going over the same ground.
Get ready, Rogue. Timothy Zahn, Kevin J. Anderson, Jude Watson, John Ostrander. They are some names you may be familiar with. Timothy Zahn wrote Heir to the Empire. It was created in 1991. Timothy Zahn is a fan. So in theory, these authors that I've just mentioned of some great Star Wars content, they're fans. So therefore, is this fan fiction, especially considered that once Disney bought some of their stories, in fact, a lot of their stories, decanonized. So therefore, in a way, it is kind of fan fiction. If you are lucky, Timothy Zahn can still be found at Comic Cons to this day. He's never given up being a fan of Star Wars and giving more to Star Wars, even recently with his Thrawn trilogy and being consultant to current stories. Kevin J. Anderson was a frequent writer to Star Wars, creating characters such as, you may know him as Kip Durran. Now, if that's something, then that's got to be big. Jude Watson created Jedi Apprentice, Jedi Quest, and more. John Ostrander created comics that George Lucas himself was inspired by. Quinlan Vos, Ayla Secura. Secura the fan film builds on John Ostrander's creations, what George Lucas understood the character to be. She includes the memories in her Leku, the importance of Vos's lessons, and more just in 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Disney's recent display of the character provides timeline changes, having Secura as a knight long before Anakin joins the Jedi Order. The fan films go beyond Disney. They offer fans stories written by fans, giving more and even enhancing Disney storytelling by giving fans the characters we truly want. Hello, Mara Jade. Hello, the real reason why Luke would ever betray the Jedi Order. A loss of love and the loss of families. But Disney took that character of Luke Skywalker and tore it apart. Follow fan films to get your Mara Jade content, because you should know it is there. And if it is not there, you got to stay tuned, because got some inkling that it might come up again very soon. Fan films build on characters that we know and love.
Thanks, Odie. I think we need to come back to what we're actually debating today, which is whether fan films and AI is better than Disney. So whilst you did refer to some books and creators outside of that realm, I do pay respect to that, and I also respect those creators. I think one that coincides with what we're talking about today, which is the most important part about today's debate, is particularly the Heir to the Empire AI film. So I can understand the excitement that can be created by some of these creators that sit outside the AI and fan film creation, but I think we need to hone in on, say, you mentioned Timothy Zahn being a creator of Star Wars content and legendary, but even with this AI film, it adapts an existing masterpiece. It's Disney faces much harder challenges of, say, bringing Thrawn back into a coherent modern canon, whilst also creating new stories. And I think adapting brilliance is different from inventing the future. The debate isn't whether even this is a brilliant fan project. It's whether it surpasses the responsibility of creating, expanding, and protecting and creating a continued timeline for the entire Star Wars galaxy. So nearly every fan project that ODIE has listed so far relies on characters and stories that audiences already love. Heir to the Empire, for instance, that we were just talking about, it works because Timothy Zahn wrote one of the defining novels of the expanded universe. That's not a weakness of those projects, but it is an important distinction. I want to draw our attention to Disney repeatedly really has to ask audiences to invest in people they've never met before. Din Djarin, Grogu, Baylan Skoll, Omega, Luthen, who I mentioned before, Bix Caleen, those characters didn't arrive with decades of goodwill attached. They had to earn every emotional response through writing, acting, and storytelling. Disney has also shown respect for Star Wars history rather than ignoring it. Critics often say Disney abandoned legends, but that's only part of the story. Thrawn returned. Captain Pelion returned. Mount Tantus became canon again. Clone Commandos continued. Dark Troopers reappeared in The Mandalorians. Lucasfilm didn't simply erase legends. It selectively built many of its strongest ideas into a coherent modern continuity, which I believe is the challenge that Disney has, which for me puts it far ahead of fan films and AI. Fan films are free to choose whichever parts of legends they personally enjoy. Lucasfilm has to make decisions that influence the entire franchise to a much broader fan base. We're talking millions versus hundreds of thousands. That's a far heavier responsibility. So when I compare the two, I don't see fan films surpassing Disney. I see talented creators celebrating a universe that is still being expanded by Disney every single year. Borrowing greatness is easier than building greatness. It's easier to borrow greatness, whereas it's much harder to create it.
And I'm going to pull you up on something here, right? You talk about characters like Baylan Skoll being, creating them. And hey, nice use of some of my favorite characters here. Yeah, well played. However, here's the thing. Voyage of the Crusade goes off Secrets of the Temple. These are two fan-made films, no AI involved. Original characters. They had to build the storyline up. Yes, they built on George Lucas's premises of Order 66 and everything happening from that point. But they built these characters up and they're telling their own original content. They're telling their own original stories. And they're hitting those emotional beats even more so. I'm going to get that into my next point, but I just want to bring up the fact that there are these creators out there within the fan film empire that's a shout out, fan film empire, that create these amazing storylines that still have those story beat elements that make Star Wars truly for what it is. So while you mentioned also about canon, come on, like everything was canon before Disney took over. EU wasn't EU, it was Star Wars. And that's the whole point of this, is that fan films enhance what we know, yes, but they also create original content that builds on lore and properly within the Star Wars universe.
I think what ODIE was just saying there was really convincing, because there is there are so many fan films of so many different sorts, and yes, there are some which basically try and perfectly fill in all the gaps in the original stories and expand on little details, but there are some that just completely do their own things and are just kind of weird creative projects that really kind of expand in ways that Disney can't expand, because they have to kind of stay sort of within the universe. And I've been seeing a lot of like really cool anime and sort of puppetry ones recently, and they're sort of like going off and doing sort of weird things. And I think, to talk about fan films as one thing, it's not really accurate, because there's so much of it out there from decades, literally going back to the 70s. So I think that's a nice point.
I like what you said about how while there are some that take characters we already know and kind of expand stories in that way, there are a lot of fan films that do have their own original characters, their own complete mini universe inside the Star Wars universe, using just like the big elemental things of Star Wars to make it a Star Wars fan film, but still make it original and having those emotional beats that, like you said, for some fans hit harder than what Disney has done. And so that, and also like you also touched on how the EU was there before Disney even took over. So it was already canon Star Wars for a long time. And that's I can see why a lot of people, still want that to be canon. And some people still believe it. Some people completely deny that Disney films exist.
Prepare. I've got my green lightsaber out.
Look out.
The key characters that create Star Wars, sometimes we do not get enough of them. Yes, there are comics. Yes, there are animated TV series. But what if fans really want live action? And in fact, Rogue blatantly said that's what fans want in the last episode of our podcast when he mentioned seeing Obi-Wan versus Maul in their final fight in Rebels. Well, Rogue, you can go right ahead and see it happen in fan films, AI created into live action. Fan films are giving fans what they want. Therefore, are in fact better than Disney content. If you traverse YouTube or even a fan film catalogue of fan films, you can see that there is content for your most beloved characters. Let's take Vader, for example. Some fans say Vader is overused. Others say not enough. We all know JWSabers and the work, or Star Wars Theory, and the work he is doing. Recently, he released Vader 2. He reintroduced Mace Windu, giving us new content and a story that we all want answered. Did Mace Windu survive? We can all find out in fan films. Theory uses high-grade special effects, funds everything himself, and builds upon lore that we know and love. Not adding, changing, or altering lore such as the sequels did. He takes his love of Star Wars and makes it into a films of what we want. Did we want to see General Leia floating through space like Superman? No. Did we want Broom Boy? No. Did we want to see a young girl struggle on a desert planet and complete a hero's journey arc we all saw in the original trilogy? No. Have you seen The Voyage Crusade? I mentioned it before. We saw a Star Wars birth where a father is actually present. We see a brother relationship return to forgiveness and light. We see heroes that we need now, not a hero's journey that is force-fed to us. All in all, the fans make Star Wars. It is what we have said on this show and continue to say. No fans are like Star Wars fans. No people are like Star Wars people. And when we realize this, when we notice it, truly deep down, it is like family. That is what Star Wars is all about. From the novels written from the EU, to the fan films created from these stories, to the original concepts we see and are yet to see. Fan films give us the stories we need and the stories we want. You cannot take that away. And Disney, if you're listening, maybe you should take note on some of the stories that are being told within fan films today.
Odie, some really great points and a powerful way to end round 3. And I just wanted to touch on 2 of the fan-made films that you mentioned there in Vader and Voyage of the Crusader. Look, I admire the ambition of Voyage of the Crusader. However, it's not really what we're here to talk about today. We know the topic, and I just want to say that with Disney, they must ensure that every new story fits alongside decades of interconnected canon. Fan films focus on, a lot of the times, one adventure. Lucasfilm must think about the entire galaxy and its future. You mentioned Vader. It succeeds because audiences already know Anakin's complete tragedy before the first frame begins. Disney built on that foundation. Disney's challenge, introducing completely original characters, like those that I've mentioned, Din Djarin, Grogu, Baylan Skoll, whilst also respecting Vader in projects like Rogue One and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Creating tomorrow's legends is a harder achievement than revisiting yesterday's, and it's a strong line and a strong point that I continue to come to. My final argument is the one I think that matters most because it gets to the heart of today's motion. Throughout this debate, we've talked about some incredible fan projects, and I want to acknowledge something the judges have rightly pointed out, that some of these fan films do tackle larger plot points. Heir to the Empire explores the future of the New Republic. Voyage of the Crusader attempts to tell an original large-scale Star Wars adventure. Path of the Lost expands on Jedi philosophy. And these aren't simply short action scenes. They're ambitious stories, and I genuinely respect the people who made them. But here's the distinction I think is most important. Those creators have the freedom to tell the story they want to tell. Lucasfilm doesn't. Lucasfilm has to tell the story that becomes Star Wars. That's a fundamentally different responsibility. If we take the expanded universe as an example, Odie's absolutely right. It already existed long before Disney purchased Lucasfilm. It was built over decades by extraordinary writers like Timothy Zahn, James Luceno, Matthew Stover. They created one of the richest science fiction universes ever created, and Star Wars fans, including me, owe them an enormous debt. But Disney inherited more than brilliant stories. It inherited the responsibility of deciding what would become one coherent ongoing canon for films, television, novels, comics, and games. That's not simply a creative challenge. It's a stewardship challenge. A fan film can ask, what if this happened? But Lucasfilm has to answer, if this happens, what does it mean for every story that comes after it? That's why I believe the burden is so much greater. So if we look at what Disney has contributed, Rogue One showed us the cost of rebellion through ordinary people willing to sacrifice everything. Andor proved Star Wars would become a greater political thriller without relying on Jedi or lightsabers. The Mandalorian created an entirely new era between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, introducing Din Djarin and Grogu while laying the foundations for stories like Ahsoka. Even when projects divide opinions, they're still taking creative risks and moving the galaxy forward. History tells us that those risks are often reassessed. The prequel trilogy was heavily criticised when it was released. Today, an entire generation celebrates it. The original, the Clone Wars film, received mixed reception before the series became one of the most beloved pieces of Star Wars media ever made. Innovation almost always faces greater scrutiny than nostalgia. AI is becoming an incredibly creative tool. Fan filmmakers continue to amaze me, and I sincerely hope that they never stop creating because they enrich our community. But tonight's motion isn't whether they enrich Star Wars. It's whether they're better than Disney Star Wars overall. The answer is still no for me, because fan creators have the freedom to explore the stories they love. Lucasfilm has a responsibility to decide which stories become the future of Star Wars. Those are not the same challenge. One celebrates a galaxy, the other has to build it. And for me, creating the next generation of Star Wars, whilst honouring that came before it, is still the greatest creative responsibility in this franchise. So whilst fan films are the love letter to Star Wars, Disney has the difficult task of writing the next chapter.
You talk about how Disney has this challenge, this challenge of trying to fit everything in and trying to make everything work. But the fact is that fan films also do that. We just interviewed Lachlan McClain and Tanner McNatt, who starred in Voyage of the Crusade. And they spoke about having to make sure that the jetpack on Jango Fett was exactly the same, and the content that they was creating was around the story structure about how that affects in the Attack of the Clones. They're situating their stories in fan-made films within the Star Wars universe that is already canonized and isn't really Disney related. The problem here is that Disney is a corporate foundation, and I've come back to my original point. They've got all the resources at their fingertips, and yet they still make errors. They still make mistakes. And the mistakes, fans know about those mistakes. You mentioned Mandalorian, and you look at the box office sales just plummeting in the second week, because we have these expectations around how Disney should present, because they have a responsibility now. They have a responsibility to give us the correct stories and the right stories that are impactful and moving. And I think that without fan films and without the development of passion projects, we lose out on quality storytelling. And the reason why we lose out on quality storytelling is because Disney's not presenting it.
Do you guys particularly align with the sides that you're taking, or is this just to create a debate? No. Okay.
No, I'm actually a big believer in fan-made films,
and I'm the opposite. I actually so we've gone opposite. I also am not a fan of AI creations, and so as an artist myself, generative AI I'm really against it in a lot of ways, and it hugely is also a teacher and someone who explores the use of water within AI creation and data centers and all that kind of stuff that's going on right now. It's such a difficult thing for me to debate because I just don't agree with it. As an artist on Instagram as well and doing digital, there's such a space that people utilize within AI art that I find really challenging. And so then to debate that today has been really confronting.
Yeah, because the debate's over, right? Just really want to make sure.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
debate's
the
over.
debate's over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
They
I
finished
was
last
kind
week.
of surprised no one brought that point up.
The AI films are so controversial, but I've something I've often said on the comments on the Instagram channel is these are really good storyboards to see which stories translate well into films. And the opportunity now that these AI films that have already existed and people have Shadows of the Empire or Heirs to the Empire, any of these, they've kind of storyboarded them out, and they're now ready for a fan to go in, a group of fans, and make a really good version of these AI films.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying, Peter. There's such an opportunity to expand on it so much deeper and so much greater than what AI could ever do.
If it just turns out that it's just kind of like a way to make quick money, quick films, quick music, then that would just be savage, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I agreed. And I think creative process needs to be a human process. Ready to deliberate, you guys, whatever you if you're feeling
ready to cop it.
For round 1, Star Wars lore, ODIE, 5 out of 5. Evidence provided, I gave you a 3 out of 5. And for the rebuttal, I gave you a 5 out of 5. Are you guys writing this down?
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. And then Rogue, that first round, again, Star Wars lore, 5 out of 5. Evidence provided, 4 out of 5. And the rebuttal, 5 out of 5.
Whoa.
That first round was really interesting because both of you had me on each side. Because I obviously am biased to one side, but I was really trying to not be. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to give it based on the info they give. And both of you were doing a great job at rebuttaling each other. That I was like, wow, those are some really good points. So you guys obviously know how to debate. ODIE round 2, Star Wars lore, 5 out of 5. Evidence provided, 5 out of 5. And rebuttal, 5 out of 5. ODIE got 5s across that board.
Mike.
And then Rogue, you, for Star Wars lore, 5 out of 5. Evidence provided, round 2, I gave you a 3 out of 5. And then rebuttal, a 4 out of 5.
Oh, I'm up by 1. I'm up by 1 here. Come on.
And then round 3, ODIE, 5 out of 5 for Star Wars lore. Evidence provided, 5 out of 5. Rebuttal, 4 out of 5. Rogue, for the last round, Star Wars lore, 5 out of 5. Evidence provided, 4 out of 5. And rebuttal, 4 out of 5.
Oh, look at him. Look at him. He's sweating.
You made up those 2 points. Hope
Peter,
you've
your
been
turn.
kind, Pete. Gee, I'm really hedging my bets on the fan-made film guide. This is going to be tough.
Have you guys got money riding on this?
millions of dollars, Pete, and you can have a cut. Oh, gee.
You should get points deducted for
for trying to bribe the adjudicators. Yeah.
I was constantly trying not to be biased, as I said, and I was trying to be fair to the Disney direction. So for ODIE, in round 1, I gave you 11 out of 15. And Rogue, I gave you 13 out of 15. But in round 2, you both had great, in each round, you both had great arguments. But like Rogue was like such a hard job, like creating the new Star Wars universe is expanding into that universe is really hard. Anyway, ODIE, I gave you again 11 out of 15, round 2. And Rogue, again, I gave you 13 out of 15.
Oh, you're 2 points ahead now. Come on, I've got to send it. I've got to send it home.
This is where we were a few minutes ago.
Come on, Peter.
I thought, like, okay, round 3, ODIE, you had me when you said the fan. I just like felt my bias just like surged forwards when you said the fan films give the fans what they want, and I was like, that's a fact. That's just a simple, clear, evident fact. And I gave you 14 out of 15 for making that solid argument. And then Rogue, you came in, I thought you came in weak on round 3.
Savage.
So I've got, I don't know if you can't see it. Your first point you made, I gave it 9 out of 15. But then you kind of proceeded, and I went, hang on a minute, he's pulling it back. And I went up to 11 out of 15. And then I also scribbled that out, and it got to 14 out of 15. So you were neck and neck on round 14 out of 15. So I don't know where that leaves you on the scores.
Well, there we go. Odie, I've lost it. Rogue, you're the winner, mate. Well done. Congratulations.
But nobody believes what Rogue was saying.
Which is so
including
funny.
Rogue.
Wait, that's actually so funny and interesting. I actually was on Rogue's side. That was my bias.
Well, at the end of the day, we respect opinions. And yeah, Rogue, any winning words?
It's really fitting to have you both on the show today and have you both present different opinions and viewpoints. And I think it's a real strength. So really appreciative to have you both with us.
Thank you for having us. This was a lot of fun.
It was really useful. I have to say really, really useful, because I'm constantly trying to have a balanced view of what Disney has actually done with Star Wars. And I do feel there's room to expand the universe. And it's not simply about kind of going over all the old stuff. It is like that. You used a really good word that won me over, Rogue, which was stewardship. Complicated boat that you're sort of driving into the future, and I think that's for new generation.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really loved all of Rogue's points of how fan films are fun, but Disney does have the responsibility to make sure this timeline and this canon timeline all ties together neatly. And so that it works, so that it continues to be multi-generational. I think Star Wars is gonna, we got a new movie coming out next year and more after that. Like, Star Wars already spans across so many different generations, going back to the 70s, that I think it's gonna continue to grow decade after decade, as far as it looks right now. And so the responsibility of Disney is huge.
Yeah, look, I don't want to wear that one on my shoulders. But what we have done is we've finalised our last debate, our cap on season 1 of Odrogs in Hot Pods, a Star Wars podcast. And what amazing guests we've had on the show today. Rei Kennex, Tanner McNatt, Lachlan, McClain, and of course, Evie Blue and Fan Film Empire, Peter from fanfilmempire.com. You can follow Evie Blue at Evie Blue on Instagram and TikTok. That is at EEVEEBLUEE. She is such a positive person, an amazing person, and thank you so much, Evie, for being on the show today. You can also follow all the work that Peter's doing and go and watch some fan films. Go and watch the fan films that we talked about today, because they are absolutely fantastic.
We think there's space for all of the opinions and all of the views, and that all fans are welcome. We come from it that Star Wars content is great content, right? Like it gives us an opportunity to deliberate, to discuss, to delve deeper. And I think that's what's great about the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah, absolutely. Really. And it's so good to have people come on the show. Like Rei Kennex, you can find her, Rei Kennex, at REIKENNEX on YouTube and on Instagram, and follow along. She's got some great fan films under her belt already. Follow Backyard Tripod Films at Backyard Tripod Films. Also, follow the links below to support all the fan films that we've talked about today, all the Instagram accounts that we've included in this podcast, and follow along next podcast as we thank everyone that has ever come onto our show this season. We'll put all the connects down there that we have onto next season as well. So please follow along. Have a listen.
We can't wait for you to be involved, and that's what really this podcast is all about. It's all about, obviously, Star Wars and you, the fans. So don't be shy. Send us an email. Send us an Instagram message. Jump on our Facebook. Give us a follow. We'd love to engage with you, and we'd love to hear from you. And Odie, that just about wraps us up.
But for now, may I just say thank you, listeners, so much. May the Force be with you all. This is Odie signing out for Season 1. Thank you. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.